like, maybe I should end here and then you start here. The lighting sequence.
Okay.
Why don't you do that? Because
Okay.
it goes with your chalice lighting words.
Okay.
So we will begin our service with shared ritual of lighting our chalice, a symbol of lighting our chalice for us this morning is Delilah.
And who's gonna help Delilah light the
I'm
challenge?
sure her mother will.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about that. And then you can go right into your chalice lighting.
Okay. When she lights it, then go into it.
No, when she comes up here, you can start reading.
Okay.
And then she will just light it.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah. And you can put, there's room for your stuff up here too. It's on YouTube. So that's a good one. I think. Yes. Yes. Okay. And she hasn't even heard it yet. She's got a lot of faith in us.
So ready for this to be over. Yeah. Oh, I'm not. Either you or Jen. Okay. Okay.
And then when I do my sermon, I'm just going to pull it out of here.
Okay, that way I can do that too, and I won't have to leave all this stuff up here.
Yeah, I might pull the sermon out of here. And,
Will this be up here all the time?
yes.
Then I don't need my copy of it. I don't think.
Okay, just know that I have a song plugged in here.
Okay.
So when you're done with that, you're going to have to go past the song to the chalice lighting because I had to increase I'm going to help lead it, and I had to make it bigger.
Okay.
I had to put it there, but I won't do it until after you introduce the hymn.
Okay. And the hymn is that one, this one, 1051.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please rise and bow your spirit for hymn number 1051, We Are.
Okay, I better hold on to this because I made
Yeah,
a
why don't
bunch of
you do
notes.
that? That's fine. We have room up here for both of those.
Okay.
There's plenty of room here.
Okay. Where's Violet Unger?
She's right at the piano.
That's her. Yeah, she's really good. I know. She was in that. Hey, Mark.
I saw her.
She was in that recital.
I saw her warming up here. All right. So.
Good morning. I'm Gregory Mason. Welcome to First Presbyterian Church for the service at Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. Before we start, I have some announcements. If you haven't already, you might want to pick up hymnals and an order of service. For those watching on YouTube, you can access the order of service in today's email. Just click where it says, click here for order of service. Pledge payments for 2022 to 2023 budget year will be received and credited until July 10th, tomorrow. If you have any questions, email Brenda. And just a reminder, there will be no Friday emails during July. And also, please note, on July 23rd, we will not be meeting here in the sanctuary. We are invited to attend the Bradford UU Church in Kenosha for their 10 a.m. service. RE needs supplies for July 30th. Clean plastic, labels off, peanut butter-sized jars are needed for an activity on July 30th. Bring them to church on any Sunday in July before the 30th and give them to Abby. About 20 jars are needed. Please contact me to volunteer to bring goodies for our coffee hour. And thank you to Maria Scott for today's goodies. For more information and details about these announcements, along with others and community announcements, please see your weekly emails. Please join us for coffee hour in Erman Hall following the service. For those joining us on YouTube, please log into Zoom after the service for Joys and Concerns along with coffee hour. The link is in today's email.
Many thanks to Violet Unger for playing that wonderful prelude. Thank you so much. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Suzanne Landis, and Carl Hubbard and I will be your worship leaders this morning. As we gather once again, we remember that our mission as a church is to be a community of hope, one that challenges us to transform ourselves, promote love and justice, respect all faiths, and shepherd our planet. Together, we journey toward wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. And as a people committed to the work of justice, we covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. As we come together this morning, we claim and celebrate the promise of our UU faith, that all of who we are is welcome in this sacred space, both in person and online.
We will begin our service with shared ritual, the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Lighting our chalice for us this morning is Delilah Simpkins. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. We light this chalice flame as a symbol of our search for truth and our quest for justice. May its brightness empower us with the courage and strength to shine our light on a world intent on peddling lies and distortions, so that the truth might finally be known. May we be keepers of faith through our revolutionary acts of empathy, compassion, and love. Thank you, Delilah. Please rise in body or spirit for our next hymn, hymn number 1051, We Are. Words and music by Isaiah M. Barnwell.
For a child that's born, a morning star The book for today's message for all ages is one of 176 books removed from classrooms in Duval County, Florida. They were part of the Essential Voices classroom library collection. Some of the titles: Fry Bread, A Native American Family Story, Who is the Dalai Lama? Dim Sum for Everyone, The Drinking Gourd, A Story of the Underground Railroad, My Two Dads and Me. And the story you are about to hear, Sing a Song, How Lift Every Voice and Sing Inspired Generations.
Can I have all those who are young and young at heart come on up so we can hear this story? All right, I'm going to sit over here and read. So you can sit where you can see me hold the pictures or the screen or both, whatever works best for you. All right, and you guys know that I like a book that has a secret inside the cover. So I'm going to put this down for a second, and I'm just going to tell you what it's going to be, and then I'm just going to show you that this book is so cool. It's about a song, and we'll hear those lyrics in the story. Okay? I'm not going to sing them. This is a tough song, and I am not a singer. So I'm going to speak them. But if you want to hear the song, there are plenty of ways to listen to it. And if you want to hear or see all the lyrics at once, they're in this cover. Ready for this trick? Okay, hold on. It's a really long song, so it had to be on both sides of the cover. But I just think it's cool when books have treats like that, so I wanted to make sure you saw that. All right, so this book is called Sing a Song, and it's how the song Lift Every Voice and Sing inspired generations. And you can see that the author is Kelly Starling Lyons, and the illustrator who did these gorgeous pictures is Keith Mallett. Before you were born, a girl learned a song. Her principal, James Weldon Johnson, and his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, had written to him for a celebration of President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. The girl wanted to make them proud. She hummed the song on her way home from school. She practiced it as she did her chores. On the big day, February 12th, 1900, she was part of a choir 500 strong. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, she sang. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. And she kept on singing as she grew up. She taught it to her students when she became a teacher. She crooned it to her husband as they journeyed from Jacksonville, Florida, to a new life in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She sang it when she rocked her baby boy to sleep. It was a part of her she wanted to pass on. And you know what? Her little boy learned that song. He listened to her hum it as she dreamed of being able to teach again in her new home. He heard his daddy sing it when the days of the steel mill wore him down. Then, one day, he stood in the choir loft and gazed at the glowing faces. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, he sang. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. And he kept on singing. He sang it when he came back from World War II and faced discrimination. He sang it when he joined the NAACP. He sang it with his wife and to his baby daughter as he rocked her to sleep. It was a part of him he wanted to pass on. And you know what? His little girl learned that song. She sang it each morning at school. Then came the day that broke the nation's heart. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. The next morning, she saw her teacher cry. Sobs replaced singing, then whimpers and silence. Who would lead them now? The song whispered an answer. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, she sang, "Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us." And she kept on singing. She sang it at protests for equal rights and when she and her friends were jailed. She sang that song in her heart each time she won or lost a case as a lawyer. She sang it to her baby boy as she rocked him to sleep. It was part of her, and she wanted to pass on. And you know what? Her little boy learned that song. Every family reunion opened with that anthem. He sang because he had to at first. But then something changed. He saw the awe in his grandparents' faces, saw the pride in his mamas and pops. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, he sang, "Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us." And he kept on singing. He sang it at his college graduation and when he opened his first business. He sang it at rallies to stand up against racism. He sang it holding his wife's hand at Black History programs and when he rocked his daughter to sleep. It was a part of him he wanted to pass on. And you know what? I bet you do by now. His little girl learned that song. And on another big day, September 24th, 2016, she stood in a crowd of thousands along with her mama and daddy. President Obama, the First Lady, and generations of one family rang the freedom bell, a dream born a century ago to honor Black lives and contributions had finally come true. The National Museum of African American History and Culture was officially open. With the Washington Monument piercing the sky, that little girl stared at the bronze building majestic as a crown. As bells around the nation tolled in triumph, she heard a voice rising too. Clear and strong, it was a song she heard her parents sing. Back straight, head high, heart and mouth open, she sang. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. And you know what? That song is part of you. Sing it when you score a victory. Sing when tough times get you down. Sing and think of all the people who sang before you, who carried on and pushed forward even when everything was against them. Sing and remember they never stopped believing. Keep singing, keep pushing, keep passing it on. Keep passing it on. That's the end. That's a big one, isn't it? There's a lot to think about in that one, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we're upstairs. So let's stand up and let's do our blessing. Grown-ups, you can join in too.
There are many ways we give to the life of this church, and the monetary offering is just one of those ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization and share with them the money that we gather. This month's partner is Planned Parenthood, which serves as a trusted provider for individuals seeking comprehensive reproductive health care and education. In Racine County, Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin is a trusted ally in the pursuit of reproductive health and autonomy. Thank you for your generosity in supporting the work of this important organization.
Part of being in community is sharing our joys and our sorrows with one another. This week, all who have a joy or a sorrow are invited to come forward now and light a candle. We light one more candle for those in this beloved community who are joining us today on YouTube, and one final candle for all of the joys and sorrows that remain on our hearts unspoken. Please join with me now in singing our response, "There is a love first holding me and then holding us." Today's reading is from a TED Talk by Hassan Kwame Jeffries. In his TED Talk, Why You Must Confront Hard Historical Truths, Hassan Kwame Jeffries says, in part, George Santayana, the Spanish writer and philosopher, said that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Now, as a historian, I spent a lot of time thinking about this very statement. And in a sense, it applies to us in America. But in a way, it doesn't. Because inherent in this statement is the notion that at some point, we stopped doing the things that have created inequality in the first place. And the harsh reality is, we haven't. When I think about the past, my concern about not remembering it is not that we will repeat it if we don't remember it. My concern, my fear, is that if we don't remember the past, we will continue it. We will continue to do the things that created inequality and injustice in the first place. So what must we do? We must disrupt the continuum of hard history, and we can do this by seeking the truth, by confronting hard history directly, by magnifying hard history for all the world to see. How? Teachers teaching hard history to their students. To do anything else is to commit educational malpractice. Parents speaking truth to their children so that they understand where we have come from as a nation and us. We must all act on truth, individually and collectively, publicly and privately, in small ways and in large ways. We must do the things that will bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice. To do nothing is to be complicit in inequality.
My reflection this morning is about erasing history. Please note, this talk won't cover clearing the browser on your computer. At this time in our country, when we have seen women lose the right to decide what to do with their own bodies, when we see the civil rights of LGBTQIA and transgender people challenged by 491 anti-LGBTQ bills, when parents seeking gender-affirming care for their transgender youth in some states now face criminal charges and prison time, when a highly politicized Supreme Court has eradicated affirmative action laws and affirmed the right of private businesses to deny services to people they don't like. Maybe we should ask ourselves and each other how we got to this place. What have we been taught or not taught about American history that has so influenced our norms, our culture, our values, and our laws that so many of us are comfortable living in a classist, sexist, racist, and violent society? Why have efforts to tell a more truthful, inclusive story of America's history been so fiercely resisted? Why are the stories of iconic leaders like Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln so sanitized they border on fiction? In his recent biography of Dr. Martin Luther King, author Jonathan Ive wrote that King's legacy is now, quote, so hallowed it's hollow, end quote. We all know the story of George Washington and his wooden teeth. The truth we should have been told is that his dentures were constructed from human teeth extracted from the mouths of people he enslaved. Washington's own Mount Vernon plantation ledger entry of May 8, 1784 documents this fact. We should know that Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, said, and I quote, "If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that," end quote. Lincoln chose option 3. Only enslaved people in Confederate states were freed. Those held in bondage in Delaware, Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Tennessee were not freed by the proclamation. After the Civil War ended, Lincoln advocated sending freed slaves out of America to Africa, Liberia, or Haiti, anywhere outside of America. While he strongly opposed the institution of slavery Lincoln did not believe in racial equality, nor that people of different races could ever successfully integrate. We should know that Margaret Sanger, whose advocacy work in support of reproductive rights for women led to the establishment of Planned Parenthood, an organization that our offertory supports today, an organization that to date has provided vital health care and supportive services to hundreds of thousands of women. But we should also know that Sanger was a firm believer in eugenics, a social engineering policy based on racist and ableist theories that labeled some women unfit to have children. In her 1920 book, Woman and the New Race, Sanger wrote this: "Birth control itself is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives or those who will become defectives." The unanswered and chilling question here is who gets to decide who is unfit, who is defective? My intention in relating these facts about Washington, Lincoln, and Sanger is not to denigrate them or devalue their immense positive contributions to American society. Rather, it is to show them as fully human. Their flaws are a testament to their humanity and help us to better understand how the privileged and systemically racist culture in which they lived shaped their lives, their beliefs, their choices, and attitudes. Just as systemic racism and white supremacist values continue to negatively impact our society today. Taking a simplistic, narrow view of history does not mean that the parts that are unspoken are unknown. In fact, those parts are well known by those whose lives, fortunes, and futures have been diminished and marginalized by those actions that a sanitized, inadequate history does not account for. In the opinion of African-American writer and historian Robin Lee Harris, to share thoughts every year about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Madam C.J. Walker, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey, and many others, that's commendable, but it is just as necessary to mention the harm, violence, cruelty, rape, and extermination of thousands of ordinary African Americans at the hands of white supremacists. So why should any of this undisclosed and troubling history matter to us? Isn't it all just water under the bridge of American history? Well, consider these sobering observations about history from some very wise people. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. George Santayana. The past is never dead. It's not even past. William Faulkner. The struggle of man against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting. Milan Kundera. The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. George Orwell. I believe this works for democracies as well. So, why don't they want us to know what's behind the war on woke, which is actually a war on truth and awareness? What does it mean to be woke, or in other words, aware? I think it means listening to uncomfortable truth. It means learning how our own shared history is understood and experienced differently in diverse communities. It means acknowledging and reckoning with our true history, not the tidy and benevolent version that makes some of us feel proud and comfortable and renders many others marginalized or altogether invisible. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. What we can't see, we can't embrace, we can't fully relate to, we can't love, we can't protect. How does the absence of a truthful and inclusive history hinder our church's eighth principle commitment to dismantle systemic racism and white supremacy within our institutions and community? In her recent lecture at the 2023 GA Assembly, Dr. Imani Perry remarked that, quote, "Rage is the most virtuous response to injustice." I believe that the denial of true history, including its tragedies, bigotry, and violence, is intended to prevent us from being outraged, from being moved to compassion and motivated to do the hard work of creating social justice and the beloved community we seek. In the proposed changes to Article 2 of the UUA bylaws, the word love is key. Quote, "Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love." End quote. The late Tina Turner, in one of her most popular songs, posed this question: what's love got to do with it? Regarding our hope for a loving, safe, and inclusive future world, the short answer is everything. I'm sorry I can't share with you this morning a more optimistic and joyful message. I suppose my reflection sounds a lot like Chicken Little's frantic warning that the sky is falling. The sky is falling. But as to peace, justice, and democracy, it actually is. I'm told I forgot about the hymn, which is number 149, Lift Every Voice and Sing. So please rise as you're able and sing.
Does the banning of books taking place around the country disturb you as it does me? And it make you wonder where this is all heading? And if so, does your UU faith, centered in love, motivate you to find ways to push back with intention for the sake of those whose stories are being erased and for the rest of us who are also losing something of great value? By banning and removing books, we take away an important mirror for whole groups of children and adults, and we take away an equally important window, a window into worlds very different from our own, a window into truths formerly unknown. The banning of books and the erasing of stories is being done under the guise of protecting children and adults from hard or ugly history and challenges to a way of life that the forces in power believe is the right way and the only way. But we know this is not about protection. This is part of a culture war seeking to denigrate certain segments of the population, warring specifically over LGBTQ rights, gender identity, and racial inequality. This becomes evident when we look at what books are being removed from classrooms or library shelves or being outright banned, sometimes with the possibility of job loss or even criminal consequences if one dares to defy laws about which books are no longer allowed in certain venues. I've been thinking about the content of this morning's banned book, Sing a Song, how Lift Every Voice and Sing inspired generations. The words were written by a brilliant Black poet and civil rights activist, James Weldon Johnson, and it was poetry eventually put to music and sung as the Black national anthem. The words of that song do allude to the reality and the ugliness found in a truthful portrayal of Black history. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod. We have come, treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. The book itself uses simple language and beautiful pictures to help children understand the history of the ongoing battle for equality and the importance of passing down the message through the generations with backs straight, heads high, and hearts and mouths open. And it gives words of hope for a future led by a God who will walk with them and enable them to stay true to their faith and to their native land, America. Can we see the possibility of discomfort and guilt for vulnerable children reading such a book? Is it better to erase the story and the people behind the story than to take that chance? Or just maybe, does this story provide a mirror in which children of color can see themselves and their own important history and provide a clear window for other children and adults as well, giving them the opportunity to talk about the truth of what happened and what their part is in where we go from here? In a report by PEN America, which is the nonprofit free speech organization, it cited 1,477 instances of books being prohibited during the first half of 22 to 23 academic year, which was up 28.5% from the 1,149 cases in the previous semester. Overall, the organization has recorded more than 4,000 instances of banned books since it started tracking cases in July of 2021. In the titles I read in the intro to our story, I listed a few books that are among the 176 removed from classrooms in Duval County, Florida. Titles such as Fry Bread, A Native American Story, Who is the Dalai Lama, The Drinking Gourd, a story about the Underground Railroad, My Two Dads and Me, and many others. Casey Meehan, the Freedom to Read program director at Penn America, says At Issue is more than a single book being removed from a single district. It is a set of ideas, its identities, its knowledge on the history of our country. These are the kind of bigger buckets of what is being removed, restricted, suppressed in public schools and public school libraries. Alexandria Petrie of the LA Times said in an article about the rise in book bans in U.S. schools, forbidden books are largely by and about people of color and LGBTQ individuals. Of the books removed in the first half of the school year, 30% are about race, racism, or include characters of color, and 26% have LGBTQ characters or themes. I would like to add that there is a bill proposed in Oklahoma that would let parents sue teachers, individual teachers, for lessons in opposition to closely held religious beliefs. Not surprising that you can find titles on banned book lists about religions other than Christianity, including on the Duval County's Florida's list, like The Gift of Ramadan, Who is the Dalai Lama, and Day of the Dead. Samil Trivedi and Emerson Sykes of the ACLU ask, when your culture is banned, how do you see yourself? How do you belong? How do you celebrate the stories, the music, the food, the family that made you? We know that banning and even burning books can be seen throughout history. Perhaps the most well-known, May 10th, 1933, Berlin. Students belonging to right-wing student organizations transported books from university libraries, and they tossed thousands of titles into a bonfire that were deemed offensive to the Third Reich, largely books written by Jewish authors. Included were All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria Remarque, Relativity, the Special and General Theory by Albert Einstein, The Story of My Life by Helen Keller, Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway, and many more. Early in our history, Uncle Tom's Cabin by abolitionist Harriet Beecher Stowe was banned and even deemed obscene for exposing the evils of slavery. Authors that have been banned over the history of our country include Mark Twain, William Shakespeare, and Walt Whitman. Judy Blume is on the list for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, because it portrayed female puberty and religion. And The Diary of a Young Girl was targeted for censorship for a passage where this young Jewish girl discusses her changing body. Aaron Blakemore from National Geographic said, there were also attempts to ban The Rabbit's Wedding, a 1954 children's book by Garth Williams that depicted a white rabbit marrying a black rabbit because opponents felt it encouraged interracial relationships. So, how does banning books affect both students and the general population? In an article called Diverse and Complex Narratives Cultivate Empathy and Action, put out by the Anti-Defamation League in 2000, it says, quote, "The concept of mirrors and windows is often used to describe two different ways of portraying identity in children's literature. Both approaches are crucial and should be included in the media we all consume, especially young people. Acting as mirrors, books and other media enable children to see and affirm themselves in various aspects of their identity with beauty, complexity, and depth. When books and other media serve as windows, they provide views into the lives and experiences of people with identities that differ from their own. Storytelling and narratives, wherever we encounter them, have the potential to help all of us create a deeper understanding of ourselves and foster empathy and understanding of others." End quote. Erasing stories erases whole groups of people and robs us of something critical to building the kind of diverse community that we as UUs are working toward in the world around us. There is pushback in many places from those who understand what is at stake. I learned that since 1982, and maybe you already knew this, but I didn't, every year there is a banned book week, a week where the freedom to read is promoted and celebrated, and where banned books are named and discussed and strategies are offered for pushing back on such bans against intellectual freedom. Banned Book Week is promoted by an international alliance which includes the American Library Association, Amnesty International, and a number of other organizations, and is taking place on October 1st to 7th this year. Many resources are available and are provided to counter the movement taking place in a number of states around the country to ban books from both classrooms and from libraries. There have been other creative pushbacks against those who are challenging some book titles and banning others. Genderqueer by Maya Kolbabe and Mouse by Art Spiegelman, banned in some places, have both soared in sales on Amazon since the ban, as have many other books on the banned list from around the country. There are numerous campaigns happening right now to pass out banned books for free to anyone who wants them, including MoveOn.org's Banned Bookmobile traveling around the country. People are using their little free libraries to promote banned books, and bookstores are featuring them in separate collections. There are banned book clubs being formed, and others are hosting banned book parties. Even a cable TV news show has a segment featured weekly about banned books. Isaac Asimov, an American author, said, "Any book worth banning is a book worth reading." So let's read. We must read. Books written by and about people of color, Indigenous and LGBTQ+ people, and those with other gender identities, persons with disabilities, books by and about people from different cultures and religious beliefs and practices. Let's learn now the history we have never been taught. so that we have a better understanding of what the forces attempting to erase history and stories and people are desperately trying to hold on to. And let's share and discuss these books with as diverse a group of people as we can manage to bring together until we understand that we are but one small voice among the many that still need to be heard. And finally, out of our love for all people, our radical UU love, let us push back hard against this erasing, this retelling, this withholding, this banning, and promote in any way that we can the freedom to read, the freedom to know, and the freedom to be for every single human being. May it be so. Please join me in our next hymn, and I forgot what it is. The Fire of Commitment, number 128. Please rise in body or spirit. 1028, Teal hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
Every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. George Orwell, 1984. These words were fiction, written in 1949 as a warning after the rise of dictators like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. Yet, in real time, right now, the intentional erasing of history, the delegitimizing of whole groups of people, and the banning or rewriting of books is happening where we live. There is much for us to do.
As we extinguish this chalice flame, may the blazing light of truth and the fire of our commitment to love and to justice continue to burn brightly in each one of us as we go forward into another week filled with opportunities for us to be keepers of our faith in this world. May it be so.